They didn't start with the media. They didn't start with the courts. They started with your children. Because every communist, every Marxist, every subversive planner knows if you want to reshape a nation, you don't argue with its adults. You reprogram its youth. When you reprogram the youth, you control the culture. That's Marxism 101. This didn't just happen overnight. It started with just one school board. And this was a slow invasion of curriculum, culture, and control. Let me show you how they did it. They called it fairness. They called it inclusion. But what it really was a revolution with crayons. Social emotional learning became the vehicle for Marxist psychology. Equity-based grading removed merit. Restorative justice replaced discipline. Classrooms stopped teaching how to think and started teaching what to think and what to feel. Not math, not history, and certainly not civics, but identity, oppression, grievance, and guilt. Guilt for being white, guilt for being a man, guilt for being American. Enter the NEA, National Education Association, the largest teachers union in America, and the most ideologically compromised. In 2022, the NEA passed a resolution to reimagine capitalism. They pushed critical race theory under new names. They opposed openly school choice, parental oversight, and transparency. They're not protecting the teachers. They're enforcing ideology. And guess what? They're not alone. The DSA, Democratic Socialists of America, quietly infiltrated school boards across the country from Seattle to Chicago and from Austin to New York. There are openly Marxist board members voting on what your child is allowed to read, think, and believe. California led the charge. Assembly Bill 1184 allows schools to withhold gender and mental health records from the parents. State Bill 107 shields out of state minors seeking gender transitions without parental consent. Do you see what they did? They erased the parents from the equation. They handed full authority to the state. That's not education, that's overreach. It's Orwellian. The state can come along and take your child because you don't agree with the gender ideology that the school says is okay. This is no longer a debate about policy. This is a territorial fight, and the battleground is your child's mind. And now that you see how they got in, let's talk about where it leads next. Grade school was just the warm-up. The real reprogramming, it happens when kids leave home and walk straight into the lion's den. Universities were once cathedrals of thought. Today, they are indoctrination factories, printing degrees in victimhood, grievance, and ideological purity. Let's break down how that happened. Most Americans don't realize this, but a Marxist revolution already happened, and it was wearing a cap and gown. A 2022 study by the National Association of Scholars found that nearly 50-to-1 Democrat to Republic ratio in university humanities departments. Whole disciplines, gender studies, critical theory, post-colonial studies are all Marxist by design, not by drift. DEI statements are now required to even apply for tenure in many schools, a loyalty test to leftist orthodoxy. And once a Marxist gets tenure, he never leaves. They shape the generations to come. These schools don't teach ideology. They enforce it like a religion. Dissenting students are punished. Guest speakers are silenced or attacked. Conservative groups are denied funding, space, or faculty sponsors. They don't want a debate. They want doctrine. This is why a student can graduate with honors in sociology and never read the Constitution, but they can memorize every word of Ibram X. Kendi by name and verse. And it's not just the fringe schools. It's Harvard, Yale, Stanford, Princeton. These are the motherships. And here's the big kicker. You're paying for all of this. Federal student loans pump billions into these institutions every year. Foreign nations like China fund university programs and Confucius institutes, often in exchange for research access. In 2023, a leaked memo from a university DEI office revealed that activist training was being conducted using public education grants. Your tax dollars, their ideology, and the pipeline is working. Students enter unsure. They leave angry, activated, and armed with a cause and a target. And that target is you. They hollowed out the universities from the inside. Now they're launching graduates back into your schools and into your courts, your corporations, and your government. But not every parent has surrendered. There's a growing resistance, and it's not coming from the institutions. It's coming from the kitchen table. Take a look at this video of 3 kids in Barrington High School upholding American values as they asked the school board to remove a teacher who celebrated the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Take a look.
We decided to come up and give our perspective on this subject, considering it is our teacher and one of the people that will guide our futures. No matter what anyone says to me, I will never stand for violence, especially of a man who was publicly murdered in front of his wife, one of his children, thousands of students, and other bystanders. Charlie was not a racist, he did not hurt anyone sexually, and he did not kill anyone. Therefore, this was an unjustified cause of death that should never be celebrated. So if you ask me, Charlie's children do not deserve to grow up without their father. Charlie's wife did not deserve to lose her husband. Charlie did not deserve to lose his life because of a different opinion. But this teacher deserves to lose his job.
As civilians and people of our great country, we hold ourselves to a higher standard than to support, or worse yet, rejoice in violence. Someone who advocated for an arrested murderer and assassinator of one of the greatest debaters and free speakers of our time should have no place in a classroom, more so around young children.
As a student of Barrington High, I do not feel comfortable or safe with one of our teachers supporting violence. We believe this world needs God because something as cruel as this should never be celebrated. God bless Charlie Kirk and rest in peace, Mr. Kirk.
The kids know when indoctrination feels wrong. Empower them to walk away from it. Parents are waking up. They watched as their kids came home from school angry, anxious, and confused. They saw math replaced with Marxism, faith replaced with flags, and discipline replaced with identity politics. And finally they said, that's enough. And what began as a fringe idea has now exploded into a full-blown exodus. In 2019, roughly 2.5 million kids were homeschooled. By 2023, that number more than doubled. In some states, homeschool enrollment is outpacing private school growth. And what's being taught? Founding documents, biblical values, true civics, logic, discipline, and self-governance. And that's why the regime hates it. Because you can't indoctrinate a kid raised by parents who are faithful, informed, and unshakable. Not all parents can homeschool. Some turn to private education. Christian academies, classical schools, and charter models are growing fast. Many offer truth-based curriculum grounded in the Constitution, Scripture, and based on merit. But here's the danger. Private doesn't always mean safe. The same infiltration that poisoned public education has begun to seep into the elite private schools, pushing DEI training, rewriting language codes, and conditioning students to hate the country that their tuition built. Some can't leave, And for them, this is a rescue mission. That's why the school board elections matter more than presidential ones, because the battlefield is actually local. Parents are winning seats, teachers are blowing the whistle, laws are being written state by state to defend parental rights. But this is where the enemy has dug in most. The regime's final stronghold is your child's classroom. It's guarded by unions, state boards, and a whole army of radicalized activist parents posing as educators. If we're going to take it back, it'll take courage, clarity, and community. They thought you'd never notice. They thought you'd never fight. But now you see it. It isn't just a breakdown of education, it's an occupation. It's an outright assault on parental authority, parental rights, and parental control.
You're listening to Uncle Sam Saves America, a patriotic show for the average Joe.